Well, welcome, my friends. I am excited to be here with Justin Doherty. He is the president and CEO of Autism Action Partnership. Justin, it's so great to see you today.
Oh, it's great. It's great to be here with you as always.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Autism Action Partnership and and what is it, the history, mission, and all that good stuff?
Certainly. So we are celebrating our 15 years serving the Omaha, Nebraska community here, and we're a nonprofit, so 501c nonprofit. We began the roots of our organization were it was actually a family who was impacted by autism.
Mhm.
They started a foundation, and that foundation, after a number of years, became a nonprofit. So a lot of investing in others, and then started to say there's some really great things happening across the country and not an obvious home for it here in town. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of in 2008 is when Autism Action Partnership was born. And so we focus our services on what kind of three primary areas: support, which is supporting families and individuals with autism in any way that we can. Um, Prosperity. And so we've got a number of programs more recently within the last 4 to 5 years that are focusing on young adults and adults. Kind of once you turn 21 and leave most of the systems
Mhm.
that exist, there's a big
Yeah.
blue ocean, which is opportunity and also a lot of barriers. And so we're focusing some services on that. And then the other kind of core pillar of our organization is inclusion. And so inclusion is both kind of family events. We do things throughout the community to allow families to access different things, and then also more recently, we've launched what we call our Compass program, which is around a kind of inclusion, helping others advance their understanding and practice of inclusion.
Well, yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the Compass program and what that means.
Right. Probably since the beginning of our organization, we have done autism awareness.
Mhm.
And if anybody kind of pays attention to some of the nomenclature, it's become autism acceptance. And really, if this is across the world, the idea here is that understanding what autism is was very important for a while, and it's just not really enough, quite frankly. And so, kind of on the heels of that kind of change of scope and focus, Compass is training. And so, we've done education of the community, what autism is, what it isn't. And so, training really is around how can you be more understanding of autism? How can you change behaviors? And it's almost always unintentional. We do things this way. We greet everybody the same way.
Yeah.
We're welcoming of all people. And you're like, the way in which you welcome sometimes actually makes people not want to come. And it's
Yeah.
just lack of understanding. And so we work with businesses. We have targeted through our training. So targeted with law enforcement. We do a lot of work with law enforcement, have for a number of years, Omaha Police Department specifically. First responders, when you're coming and there's sirens and loud noises, and you're talking to someone who has sensory issues or maybe limited ability to communicate verbally, what happens. And every once in a while, you see the horrible stories about what could happen when it's misunderstood or misinterpreted as
Yeah.
maybe aggressive behavior or refusal to adhere to what's being said. We work with businesses. We talk to businesses not only from the customer side, how do you create an environment that's more welcoming, but also as an employer,
Mhm.
creating opportunities. So there's a significant energy around autism is a disability, but there's a significant abilities within that autism spectrum. And how do you create an environment that allows that person to shine and do likely better than some of their coworkers in certain areas, while they might struggle with the communication and social pieces. So
Right.
Compass is really it's training around autism, and we've got your kind of your 100 levels, but then we go more in detail around again employers. We did a training with the arts and entertainment organizations about hosting sensory friendly performances, as well as what that means for your ticket takers and hosts and things like that. And then additionally with Compass, we've added a consultation services. So
Okay.
we will come into physically into your space and walk through with you. We'll do trainings individually with specific people. We'll work on your website for accessibility components. We create sensory maps. There's a number of other components that we can actually come in, offer
Okay.
services directly to businesses. And then when we leave, it's not just like we've got know-how; they actually have
Right.
tools and able to implement.
Yeah.
And so we've had some pretty successful. I'm happy to share that the Kiewit Luminarium is one of our first partners, and
Okay.
we work with them significantly, both with their staff as well as the physical space, website, and all everything I just shared.
Right.
Kiewit Luminarium has
Right.
checked
Yeah.
boxes
Yeah.
as an example.
Yeah. Let me just ask you this. From Omaha as a whole, just as this community, how do you think it compares to other cities with kind of what you're doing in the efforts of autism? I'm just curious if you can answer that even. I don't know.
Well, I would say in some areas we're ahead. I would say just kind of like the Nebraska nice, the Midwestern. I'm born and raised in Omaha, so I'm gonna
Right.
sing our praises of just being, for the most part, just good humans who care about others
Right.
and care about their neighbor. So that sets us apart from a lot of other places. I would say most of the ways where we can improve is like kind of it's ignorance, and it's unintentional ignorance. It's kind of the joke of like, oh, you don't speak this language, I'm going to speak louder and slower in English. You're like, that's not really what you do, right?
Yeah.
So some of those things, when you're like, you have autism, knowing what that word might mean, knowing that if your nephew has autism and someone else has autism, it might not be anywhere close to the same
Hmm.
experience, and having that, or saying, oh, you have autism, okay, then if you want to come over and sit in this section of the restaurant that's a little bit quieter, it's a little bit softer, less stimuli, those types of things. So um, again, I'm certainly biased for as an Omahaan, and I would say that we've got all the right ingredients
Right.
in this community to have significant change. And one of my daydreams in AAP's long-term daydreams is about making Omaha an example of what could be, and we
Sure.
some of the other communities around the state, around the country, who are forward thinking, who are doing things around public transportation or some of the other sectors where you see more inclusive signage or more inclusive behavior by public servants and things like that that create a more welcoming approach.
Right. You may not be able to answer this either, but you had this amazing festival maybe 2 years ago. I can't remember the Census Festival. Is that correct?
Common senses.
Yeah,
Common
Common Sense.
senses, yes.
Is
Yes.
is there something like that in the works in the future?
We don't have anything specifically
Okay.
planned, but I would say, I mean, in general, yes. I'm not sure of the degree of which, but
Sure.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's a great example of Omaha. So we
Hmm.
brought in national speakers and a bunch of wonderful, amazing humans from out of town, and then said to everybody, all of our partners here locally, we're going to create this big spotlight and we want you in it. And across the board, a number of partners from the arts and entertainment organizations and other partners from education into other houses, if you will, their sectors, all joined in and really helped Omaha shine, in addition to
Yeah.
bringing in these national. And I think it's a great example. We've got Compass, kind of was sprung from that, was kind of
Mm.
really a catalyst for that effort. And a lot of folks, I think, honestly saw Autism Action Partnership in a different light and said, oh, you can help us do better and be better. It's not just that we're serving. And I often say that Autism Action Partnership will not achieve its mission if we only serve the autism community. That will
Yeah.
always be a core of what we do. It'll be the dominant thing that we do, but we have to be able to change the lived experience of those we serve in the community that we live in. And so as
Yeah.
we do the inclusion work, the Compass work, we're indirectly serving the family. So when they leave here and go to the zoo or go to the Luminarium or the Children's Museum, there's a sensory kit for them. There's sensory friendly hours. There's opportunities for
Yeah.
them to go in and say, we have a unique need. And they say, oh yeah, we're trained in that. We're good. No worries. Come this way. We'll do things this way. And let us know if you have any questions. We're happy to help you, but you're welcome here. And
Yeah.
we see that experience continuing to expand and grow here in our community. And we're happy to help cultivate it.
Yeah. How long have you been with Autism Action Partnership?
5 years now. I
Okay.
just hit my 5 year anniversary here recently.
Okay.
I'm happy to
Um,
report.
well, we've just got like 1 minute left, and I wanted to just, yeah, how can people help and where can they go for more information?
Yeah, so we're autismaction.org, O-R-G. And so that's the easiest place to connect. We've got all the social media places. We've got volunteer opportunities. We have a workforce program. We're looking for employers. We're looking for volunteers to help do things around here, as well as we have a Prosper Academy with young adults navigating the community. And so opportunities to go do different activities, or individuals to help with a skill set. We've got someone who's a nutritionist or in finance or anything like that that can help impart wisdom onto the folks that we work with our staff included in
Yeah.
that transition of information. There's really not, I would say, there's nobody in town who couldn't be, we call out an autism ally. So we offer autism ally trainings, which is what is autism, what isn't it, and how can I be a better advocate for those
Yeah.
with autism. And so a dentist, if a dentist wants to call, we'll go to their office and help them figure out how they can be maybe more inclusive in what they do, their physical space or their staff.
Yeah.
You name the profession, I can tell you why and how
Okay.
we could assist them in becoming more
Right.
inclusive.
Right.
Anybody and everybody's welcome under the tent.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And again, thank you for all that you and AAP does for the community. The next time I see you, we'll be talking about the big gala that's coming up September 30th, celebrating 15 years. So we'll have a conversation about that. So everybody just save the date. But it's always great talking to you, Justin.
Oh, and you too. Thank you so very much for the opportunity and for all that you do for us and for the nonprofit
Uh,
sector.
you are welcome. And folks, don't go away. We'll be right back. Well, hello, my friends. I am excited to be here with Tom Everson. He's the executive director of Keep Kids Alive Drive 25. Tom, it's so great to see you today.
Well, thank you very much, Andy. I'm happy to be here.
Well, this is an exciting year, and I know so many people. You've seen those signs around for such a long time, but this is an anniversary year.
Yes, it is. This is our 25th anniversary, and July in particular is a special month because that's actually the month in 1998 when I came up with the idea for Keep Kids Alive Drive 25.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. Yeah, tell us the history of this.
Well, I'm a runner, and that plays a role in this. I was not intending to found a nonprofit at all. I was just concerned about the safety of our four kids who are between 4 and 10 years of age back in 1998, as well as the kids in the neighborhood, because there's a lot of running around and having fun and just being kids. And, I had contacted the city because, a lot of us we just believe that if you can get a speed bump on your street, that somehow everything will work itself out. And I got the packet from traffic engineering and started reading it and understood why it wasn't an appropriate solution for our street because our house sits at the end of a hill
Mhm.
uh, and then goes downhill from there. It's kind of a ski slope effect. And if you put a speed bump on a hill, then if a speeding car hits it, could become airborne, and then you've got more problems than you thought you had in the first place. So
Yeah.
anyway, I still didn't have any intent in terms of starting anything, but I was out for a run early, probably about 5:30 in the morning in late July of 1998. And the phrase Keep Kids Alive Drive 25 literally popped in my head. In fact, I could tell you exactly where it happened. It was rounding the corner of 120th and Center.
Okay.
And so that should give people a good visual of
Yeah.
where that happened. But just when I thought of the phrase, I just mulled it over, and as crazy as it may sound, I believe that I could start a national traffic safety campaign to address traffic safety concerns in neighborhoods to start out with. We've grown a lot in different directions since then, just with this slogan. And so went out and Mike Cottrell, who I know
Yes.
he actually he was working at a graphic design shop that was probably about a mile from our house, and I didn't know any graphic designers, and I let him know what we wanted. We wanted a graphic with this, and he
Uh-huh.
created what's become kind of an iconic graphic because we've worked with over 1,700 communities in 49 states and as far away as Queensland State, Australia, since I started this thing. So we've created quite a network around the country of working with municipalities and with schools and neighborhood groups and anybody who is interested in traffic safety. So in a nutshell, that's a little bit of our
Yeah.
origin story.
And then you kind of went out and you just started putting up those signs.
Well, actually, the police department here locally was um, really played a vital link in that because there was a Lieutenant Vasek who's long retired, and he actually came up with the idea for the yard signs.
Okay.
You know, my background, I spent 7 years working in Boys Town before I started this, and that's what brought our family to Omaha. And at Boys Town, it was always you can't do it with the kids unless you can show that it's making a difference to move the behavioral needle from negative to positive. So
Okay.
I was really armed with that mindset. So just because it was suggested we do yard signs, I didn't just automatically jump in and do them. I had
Right.
Mike made one for us, and I stuck it in our yard, and I did the only kind of research that I felt like I could do with no money. It was
Right.
it was called My Two Eyes. It was observational research, and so what I would do is I might be out playing with the kids, or I might be in the living room looking out the front window. But what I was looking for when cars passed the sign were brake lights. And I would just
Okay.
record every time I'd see brake lights when cars went by. And over 75% of the time, cars were braking.
Yeah.
And so the police department came back and they did a speed study in our neighborhood. And so we verified that the average speed in our neighborhood was 31 in a 25 zone. And some people might not be too worried about that, but the high was 57, the
Okay.
low was 17. So Wendy, my wife and I, we walked our neighborhood. We made up a little sheet with the data on it and just asked our neighbors if they thought this might be a viable thing to do. And after getting only 2 negative responses and 160 visits, we said, well, let's try it. And
Yeah.
so yard
Wow.
signs were born from there, and they're still around today.
Well, that what an amazing story. Um, so one of the things we're going to talk about before I let you go is the Live Forward Run Walk to Remember 5K, and that's
Right.
coming up on July 29th. So take it away.
Well, not too far into our history, I began to be contacted by families whose loved ones had died in traffic incidents.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something I really had on my mind that was going to be part of our mission to start out with, but they very much have become part of our mission. And that's where Live Forward was born. Live Forward is all about supporting families in bringing good into the world and honor their loved ones.
Yeah.
And so our local 5K is a way to bring families together to really celebrate the lives and love that their loved ones not only shared, but to me, they'll always share because they carry them in their hearts each and every
Yeah.
day. So this will be our 12th edition. Scott High School, they donated their facility to us the first year and have every year since. So
Awesome.
it's pretty wonderful when you have parking, when you have a track to start and finish on, when you've got a press box, when you've got a video board, when you've
Yep.
got all amenities. So, families, they form teams, and the families get to choose the color of their shirts. So, it's usually the favorite color of their loved one.
Yeah.
They choose the team name. We tailor everything that we possibly can to the families. They'll send in a favorite photo, and we'll have signs made that line the route out and back, and they can pick the sign up on their way back, take it home. I know many families have like a memorial garden at home, and they'll
Yeah.
put the sign there. And we have a DJ, and we ask families to submit 3 or 4 songs that are reminders that bring up good memories of their loved ones. So the whole playlist is devoted to the families, but the public is welcome to join us. I mean,
Mhm.
anybody who's concerned about people, about traffic safety. The Omaha Police Department will be out. They'll be passing out some free Keep Kids Alive Drive 25 yard signs.
Yeah.
And we'll have most likely we'll have Werner Trucking out to do the no zone where you can climb into the cab. The mascots for both the Storm Chasers and Union Omaha will be out. The Y is bringing out some games, so it's a very family friendly
Yeah.
event.
Yeah. I mean, how many families, I mean, I'm sure this has grown over the years, but how many families do you think like this year or maybe last year kind of participated from the standpoint of they can relate to your organization and or have been impacted by it?
Yeah. Well, we usually have 15 to 20 teams that form,
Okay.
and and that changes from year to year in terms of families because
Yeah.
we've had families that have participated once, we've had families that have participated, 3, 4, 5 times, and as often as they need to.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
so it varies from year to year.
Right. Well, I'm excited to be coming out and joining you on the 29th. And again, you're just inviting, everyone to come out and participate in the 5K. They can walk it, they can run it, and then we've just got all this, festivity activity coming, going on at the same time. So it's really a celebration of everyone in our community.
It is, and Bubbles will be present, meaning literal bubbles. And
Okay.
yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. But
Okay.
also, my son Michael and our daughter-in-law Joe will be out to sing our anthem, which is a song called "Love Is Here to Stay" that they composed themselves. And Michael actually visited with a couple of families who've been involved with us because he wanted the lyrics of the song to actually reflect what families actually say,
Yeah.
not what thought they felt. And so they debuted that in 2015, and so since
Okay.
this is our 25th anniversary, they're coming all the way in from West Virginia, and they're professional performers as well. So they're going to be live, sharing that song with everybody, and that'll help start our run that day. Also, any competitive runners out there, we do first, second, and third place for the overall winners, and so, if you're looking for some hardware, we'll create something special in honor of our 25 years and your effort,
Yeah.
and make sure
Yeah.
you're recognized in that way.
Let's talk about how can people support families of loved ones just throughout the year?
Well, throughout the year, one of the things that is always helpful to us is we have a fund that I call the Live Forward Fund. We do a special event with our runners out in Colorado every year, where our team runs the Pikes Peak Ascent Trail Race in honor of loved ones.
Yeah.
And we bring families together from all over the country to be present. It's kind of what I would call a reverse make-a-wish because they couldn't do the one last thing they would have liked to have done with their loved one because of the circumstances of their death. So we bring them out to a beautiful place to share stories, to make memories, and to create an informal support network. But also, every family has a runner who carries their loved one's name on their shirt
Okay.
up the mountain. And then they meet him at the top. Well, anyway, events like that need to be funded. And also,
Yeah.
we very much appreciate donations that help to mitigate the expenses for those families who, in ordinary circumstances, could not afford to
Sure.
come out. So that's certainly a way to do that. But really, a bigger way is just from day to day is by reflecting on our own behavior behind the
Yeah.
wheel. Are we observing stop signs? Are we buckling up in the first place? Are we setting our cell phone aside? Are we paying attention to what's going on around us? If we're coming into a neighborhood and we're seeing kids at play or people out walking their dog or whatever the activity might be, do we just simply slow down? Because
Right.
it's just, to me, I guess, generally, it's just the humane and honorable and compassionate thing that we have in our control to do. You know,
Right.
so, those are some of the actions that, I think that we can all take to support everyone because, I am on the Vision Zero uh, technical advisory committee. And for those who don't know what Vision Zero is, you'll be hearing more about this. But Vision Zero is what can a community do to reduce traffic deaths to zero? Because it's
Mhm.
the only acceptable number. None of us would put our loved one's name in a blank slot and say, okay, it's all right if they die. And
Yeah,
so, so a lot of what happens on the road happens to be related to how we behave.
right,
So,
right.
what can we do to make sure that we get home safe, that our loved ones get home safe? I always like to ask these two questions. Who do you love? Who loves you? Our answers to those questions to me are all the best reasons to slow down, to observe the traffic signals, to buckle up, set aside the cell phone. Those are
Yeah,
things we can do.
yeah. Well, um, people can register for the event as a team, a solo participant. I know as we're talking, we've got the website down below to where you can go. I was just on it earlier, but again, that's the 29th of July, which is coming up here soon. And you have
Yeah.
you have a goal of how many people you'd like to to participate in this?
Well, I'd love to see us have 250, 300 people. We've had as many as 650. It just depends on the year and
Right.
we one year we had a team that had 240 people on it.
Wow.
Oh, and that family was very well supported, to say
Yeah,
to say the least. So, and it's not a requirement have to have 240 people on your team. I mean,
sure.
but um, that's certainly in the extreme. But I would like to mention, if anybody out there is looking at starting a team or joining a team, we really encourage them to do that by July 14th,
Okay.
because since we tailor the shirts, working with the printer, we
Yeah,
want to make sure that everybody has what they'd like to have and the color they'd like to have it. And so we usually need a couple weeks to make sure that that happens.
right.
And so it's kind of hard when it's a last minute, although we work to make whatever adjustments we possibly can
Sure.
to,
But July 14th is when
yeah,
is your date if you're running for walking for someone have as a team. So
yeah, we want to make sure. And teams that have formed, I usually order a few extra shirts for them
yeah,
because, people tag on later on and
right,
want to make sure it's
right.
possible. So, yeah.
All right. Well, again, I'm excited for this July 29th, celebrating 25 years. Everybody come on out and I'm sure the weather will be perfect and uh, it'll be a great morning.
It might, excuse me, it might be a little warm, but
Yeah.
we will have cold drinks
All right.
and
All
they
right.
won't have alcohol.
Okay. Right. Right. Well, Tom, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you on the 29th of July.
Well, thanks, Andy. I really appreciate your support.
Yeah, you're welcome.